children are welcome to stay in here, but we also have childcare down the hallway. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Yeah. Attention, attention! FYI, the children are welcome to stay in here, but we do have childcare down the hallway. And as we get started, we'd like to, Amber, come up and pray for us. By the way, she was the first person to say the words to me, "What is your story?"
All right, let's pray together. Lord, we praise and honor your name for all of your mercy and loving kindness shown to us. We bless you for the goodness that freely chose us to salvation before the world began. We thank you for creating us after your own image, for redeeming us when we were lost with the precious blood of Christ, for sanctifying us by your Spirit and the revelation and knowledge of your word, for your help and support in our necessities, your fatherly comfort in our tribulations, and for saving us in the dangers of body and soul, and giving us so long a time of repentance. We acknowledge, most merciful Father, that you have received these benefits from your goodness alone, and we implore you and ask you to continue to be our gracious Father, to increase our thankfulness to you, kindling our hearts with pure and fervent love. Help us not to receive your word in vain, but graciously assist us always in heart, word, and deed to sanctify and worship your holy name through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Amber. I had to put my stopwatch on because Mike reminded me that when I'm passionate about something, sometimes I talk too long. And I don't want to go over and take away from the guys that you really came here to see. Hi, my name is Andrea Fontenot, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Fostering Community. And today you're here for us to amplify the voices of lived experience in foster care. At Fostering Community, we have a youth advisory board, and that board is made up of kids with lived experience in the foster care system. The voices of those with lived experience really are the heart of Fostering Community, and they help us develop and implement all of our programs. And a few of them came to me last month, or maybe a month before that, and said, we would like to help with community engagement. We would like to have speaking events and go into churches to tell people about the impact that Fostering Community has made. And so I sat down with those youth advisory board members and helped them learn how to share their story and how to talk about the impact Fostering Community has made. And they've been doing that within small groups, but they also wanted to have a panel where the community could ask them questions and they could then answer those questions so that people could see what it's like from their experience and also see how incredibly resilient that they are. And Michael also asked if we would share how Fostering Community was created and about the programs that we do. So foster care and adoption was a seed that was planted in my life before I was ever born. My aunt and my uncle were adopted from foster care, and growing up, my grandmother, she was always very open about her story and how adoption is how she grew her family and how much she loved her kids. And so I knew what foster care was, but I didn't really learn the reality of it until I was in high school. I knew that we packed shoe boxes for kids at Christmas time to send overseas, but I didn't realize that there were kids in my classroom. There were kids riding the school bus with me. There were kids on my softball team that were also not living within their family placements and needed extra support and love. And I really learned about foster care whenever I was in the waiting room in a doctor's office. And across the waiting room for me was a girl that I recognized from English class. But in the doctor's office, she was sitting alone and she was crying. And I recognized her because it was the beginning of the school year, but I did not know her well. And that waiting room experience led to a friendship, a lifelong friendship, and I learned that she was in foster care because her mother had passed away. And so I walked her entire foster care journey with her, and it grew within me this desire to want to help kids within the system. She always felt like she was really alone and she didn't have anybody who cared about her. And so I didn't want other kids coming behind her to have that same experience. And then about that same time in my life, I read an article in Time magazine about a girl who got adopted from foster care. Probably the only 15-year-old that reads Time magazine. And I had no idea what a heart gallery was at the time, but it's a traveling display of photographs of kids that are available for adoption from foster care. And so the article said that this family was walking through the mall and there was a heart gallery display and they saw the pictures and they locked eyes with this one child in a photograph and said, I knew that that was my child, and they adopted her. And so at the time I knew that I wanted to be a photographer, and I went on our website, adoptuskids.org, and the pictures at that time weren't that great. This was a long time ago. I'm going to tell my age, but I said when I grow up, I want to help those kids so they have a better portrait and people can really get to see their personality by looking at their picture. So that was always a desire of mine, but I didn't know how to get involved. And so 10 years later, the founder of the Heart Gallery in Louisiana actually contacted me and said, hey, would you be willing to volunteer and photograph kids that were available for adoption? And I was like, yes, that's always been a desire of mine. And so the very first child that I photographed walked up to have his picture made, and he had a faded box haircut, and it was really outgrown, and he was wearing a very dingy school uniform, and the eye piece right here on his glasses was missing, and the soles of his shoes was literally flapping off. And I thought to myself, we've got to do better by our kids. And so I started photographing more kids and meeting caseworkers. This was a very long time ago, but started meeting more kids and meeting caseworkers and just realized that there weren't a ton of resources in our area at the time for the foster care system, and that foster parents really needed support and caseworkers as well because caseworkers were so busy putting out fires. And I knew that if we had the community to wrap around and support them and help them in the work that they're doing, that it would benefit the whole system so much. And so I started going into those churches and displaying photographs, and I was meeting a lot of people who said, okay, I'm not called to be a foster parent, I'm not called to adopt right now, it's not the best time in my life, but I still want to do something to help. How can I help? And so at the time I would just say, well, if you know a foster parent, you could offer to help babysit, or you could help with homework, or you could help with meals and lawn care, you could bring them things whenever they get a new placement. But the reality was not everybody knows a foster parent. And so that's when we realized there really needed to be like a bridge in between people in the community who wanted to meet the need and the needs of the foster care system. And so fostering community was really created to be that bridge so that people just like you guys would have tangible ways to be able to love and serve kids within the foster care system. And so we started out by doing first night supplies for kids entering foster care. I met with DCFS and I said, what can we do to help you? And they said kids are coming into care and they literally only have the clothes on their back. Sometimes they don't have shoes on. They're tired, they're hungry, they're dirty, and we have nothing to be able to support them with. And so I said, what can you do? What can we do? Give me that space. And that's not the truth for every child entering foster care, but that's some kids' circumstances. And so they gave us a space and we created hygiene racks in the Alexandria office, and the community stepped up to fill those with toiletries and pajamas and anything that a kid would need for their first night, so that a caseworker could just grab a bag and fill it with supplies. And so that's kind of how we got started, and I was like, wow, the community really will help. And so we started in the Alexandria office and then expanded that to every office within the Alexandria region. And then we created the foster care closet, which is a free kind of boutique where kids can get whatever they need. So clothes, school supplies, beds, that kind of thing. And we operated it right here in this church. They were so gracious to let us have space for 3 or 4 years. And we would meet lots of foster parents who, there wasn't an active foster parent support group at the time, and they didn't know other foster parents, and so we created an online community, and we would have support group meetings. And we just really learned, just meeting the kids, like what some of the needs are, and so we started kind of growing and expanding, and then it really kind of snowballed from there. And we realized we needed to have our own space. During the pandemic, there were so many barriers to services. One of the things that we realized that youth were being grossly underserved. They weren't able to get what they needed because of all the restrictions with COVID and stuff. And so we wanted to create a youth program to be able to give them access to the services and support that they actually needed. And so our youth program has a youth advisory board with those kids that help us develop and implement all of our programs. And then we have youth community nights where kids can just hang out and visit on the last Tuesday of every month. And then we also try to give kids those essential life skills that they need so that they can be successful. And then basically just a support system. And one of the things our youth advisory board members teach me something every single day. They have taught me so much about relationships and resiliency and forgiveness, because I've had to apologize more than one time to probably almost every one of them for something that I did or said. But they are just incredibly strong and unique and beautiful, and they could not be, I think, any more different from one another. One of them is my daughter on the end of the yellow shirt, and she, I always tell her that she's the light of my life, but she made real of me today with some of the Q&A. Because we keep it real, but she came to us 5 years ago after exiting the foster care system, and I have not laughed so much in my entire life in the 5 years that I've spent with her. She's brought a lot of joy to our life. And then all of the kids that we work with, they have just really they amaze me every single day. Some of them come in and it's not that we're necessarily doing anything. We don't see ourselves as like saving them. They don't need to be saved by us. They are just incredibly strong and resilient, but they really just need a support system. One of our kids came in, and it was the summer, and she didn't know what her next steps were going to be. So I asked her about school. Are you going to go to high school, or are you going to get your GED? And she didn't really know what her next steps were going to be. She kind of was trying to make that decision. I said, why don't we help you? And so oftentimes it's just us sitting down with them and saying, tell us what your goals are, and we're going to walk alongside you and help you get there. And so it's just being that extra support system. And so then that child, we gave her a job at Fostering Community and gave her a bike, and she showed up to work 30 minutes early every single day. And within the first pay period, she worked 30 hours and actually outworked all of us because she's just a powerhouse and is just so incredibly amazing and strong. And so it's just been awesome to see the difference that just a small team of people being a village for kids can make. And then I know that we could do even more if we were able to engage you guys in some of our youth programs. And so Michael and Lady will actually talk to y'all about ways that you guys can help us and come alongside us in the work that we're doing as we're coming alongside our youth to say, hey, how can we help you get to where you're going? And I'm constantly reminding them that we're not trying to change them. They're actually just perfect just the way that they are, and we love them the way that they are. We're just trying to help them reach their goals and fulfill their highest potential, which has just been incredible to see and experience life through their eyes, I guess, as they teach us about things. And so thank you so much for being here and for your time. Thank you to our youth panel for opening up and sharing your story. I know that this is a big deal for you guys to be able to be vulnerable in this way, and I hope that you know that we all take it seriously and that we love you and appreciate you for being here.
Hey everyone, I'm Kate Burns, and I'm the Youth Support Specialist here at Fostering Community. About a year ago, Andrea and I started our youth program. We saw the need for our area, and we just kind of went for it, and it's kind of grown into this big program that she had just mentioned. And so it really has been so rewarding working with our youth. If I have learned anything about working with our youth community, is that you need a community. Everyone says that it takes a village to raise a child, and they are not lying. We need all hands on deck. I'm sure everyone here has watched KLB, read a Facebook post, or sat in on a conversation about the current statistics here in Alexandria. The situations we are seeing and living through are not going to change unless we as a community come together. Community is defined as unified body of individuals. In other words, all hands on deck. Alexandria needs people who are committed to and unified on changing the statistics, and that begins with our youth. Our youth need people to believe they are more than their circumstances. Our youth need people who see past their DCFS files. Our youth need a safe place to go when they are having a bad day. Our youth needs safe people. Our youth needs community.
The youth we work with are in all different stages of their lives. Some are in foster homes, some are with family, and some are on their own with little to no support systems. Our youth are 19-year-olds who are the main caregiver of both their sibling and their parent, just trying to make ends meet. They are young moms who are working 2 jobs while going back to school. Sometimes they return home to their biological families once they turn 18. They are 14-year-olds believing they are the only one in foster care. They are closed-off teenagers who stay quiet because the last time they spoke up, they lost their family. They are teens living in group homes simply because there are no foster homes willing to take teenagers. They are students in our local schools. They're classmates to your children. They are 16-year-olds walking through our doors with a reputation of being trouble. They are young adults just trying to navigate the world the best way they know how. But what our youth all have in common is at the end of the day, they just need someone to believe in and encourage them. They need someone they can trust. Our youth needs safe people. Our youth needs community. The number one way to create resiliency in young adults is through relationships. By building those relationships and supporting our youth, we have seen them grow into independent, successful adults. When individuals feel safe, empowered, and that their story matters, they gain the self-confidence to change their circumstances and help others. Our youth panel has shown up today to share their stories with you, to share their vulnerabilities with you, to help others feel like they're not alone, to help us understand the reality of being a teen or a young adult impacted by foster care and how we can be unified as a community, making Alexandria a safer place for our youth. So see our panelists for who they are today, because they are brave, kind, beautiful, strong, loving leaders, and my life is better because they are in it. Today, I'm asking you to listen, to really hear the stories of our youth panel and to get involved. Help us create a culture of resiliency for our youth. It's going to take all hands on deck, so be a safe person, believe in our youth and the community that they are building.
Hello, my name is Lainey Atwood, and my family has been involved in foster care for almost 8 years now. They were 9, or I was 9, when my family started the certification process to get certified in adopted family. I remember the anticipation of just getting a new little brother or sister through foster care. At the time, I didn't really understand the weight of it all or what it really meant, but I knew we were going to bring in kids in our home, and the unknown was really exciting to me. So I remember when we got the call for this 22-month-old boy named David, who would later become my brother through adoption. I remember looking out the window, just waiting for the caseworker to arrive. I was so excited. And then 8 months later, we got his biological brother, Zaylin. He came into care at 8 months old. He was dirty. He couldn't hold his head up. He was diagnosed with failure to thrive. He had a lack of muscle tone on one side of his body. He had to get speech therapy just to be able to take a bottle correctly. He would self-soothe himself, so he would lay on the crib and on the mattress, he scratch the mattress to try to go to sleep because no one was there to soothe him for the first 8 months of his life. For the first 6 months of him living in our home, me and my 2 younger biological siblings slept in the living room because he would cry all night, he wouldn't sleep. I remember going into the room and finding my mom laying beside the crib with her hands in the railing, patting him, trying to get him to go to sleep. 2 years later, we got my sister Addie through foster care, but ended up adopting her a year later along with my 2 brothers. As hard as it was, and as hard as the transitions were, it didn't take any time for them to feel like family to me and to all of us. And I think that's often what scares people is because you do get attached to people who aren't yours. But we are not called to do easy things. We're called to love people and love most times those hard things. My parents approached foster care very carefully because bringing new people that you don't know into your home scary, and there's just a lot of unknown. And so they weren't blind to that. And so they approached me carefully, and they had a lot of questions, just like coming at me like, are you sure you want to do that to your kids? Like, is that something like you want to risk? But coming out of it, I know at least for me and my siblings, it was the best decision that they ever made for us. We learned how to be unselfish, and that our lives are ultimately not our own, but are to be used to love others and to serve others. And obedience was more important than our fears. And so, yeah, and foster care is not only, it doesn't stop at adoption.
I'm Michaelin, I'm 20, and I'm a youth advisory board member at Foster Community. I was first placed into the foster care system at the age of 16, and I had very little knowledge about the system prior to entering, and so from a teenager standpoint during that time, it was all new to me. For the first 14 years of my life, it was pretty normal. I had a normal mom, or a normal life and a normal mom, until she started suffering from depression, which caused drugs to take control. And so I held on to her in hope as long as I could, and it took about 3 years for me to finally accept the fact that things would not be how they used to be. And so I sort of have this love-hate relationship. I'm happy. I sort of have this love-hate relationship with the foster care system because I was grateful to be removed from the toxic situation that I was in during. I was grateful to be taken from the toxic situation I was in during that time, and it was a big relief that I no longer had to be fully responsible for myself and such as figuring out what I'll eat or where I'll sleep each night. But in the same sense, I did not enjoy the emotional toll it brought on me. And because that toxic situation was my normal. And to be removed from your normal, separated from your siblings, and replace, you can't cry, you never cry. But placed into a foster home can be more traumatic than you think. And on top of that, the foster home that I was placed in was not the healthiest environment. But once my sisters came to join me in that placement, none of that mattered. And so I eventually ran away from that home 1 month before turning 18. And I stayed with a family friend while finishing out high school and went off to college. About a year and a half ago, I received a Facebook message from this random lady explaining how her family had adopted my 4-year-old sibling when she was 6 months. I had no idea I had a 4-year-old sibling. So I was thrilled to meet her and learn that her family had wanted her to have a relationship with her biological siblings. Fast forward to after meeting them and building relationship over several months, they asked me if my daughter and I would like to move in with them. And as some may know, I said yes, and less than a month ago, I was adopted into the family, which has made the Atwoods a family of 10. Adoption to me is to know that I will always have a forever family that loves me and support me, and that I no longer have to insert my caseworker's phone number in the emergency contact blanks when filling out paperwork. I'm almost done. And it has been so rewarding to know that I no longer have to dread holidays because I have a family to joyfully spend them with. As I look back over my years in the foster care system, though it has its pros and cons, it definitely has been one of the best things that has happened to me.
tables, or a few of them. And there's a QR code, and it should link you to pretty much everything on there. You can also engage with our youth, so volunteer at youth events, host a life skills class, cooking class at Foster Community, donate household supplies. We make boxes to give to youth who have aged out, or even sometimes youth who are still in foster care. And then you can become a foster parent. And we have, there's a website on there, you can see when the classes are coming.
You can also provide resources, so that may look like you volunteering at the foster care closet or preparing freezer meals for families who receive a new placement. You can purchase items on our Amazon wish list or donate very gently used clothing and resources. Or you can host a drive. Your business or organization, church, can host a drive. We're always in need of socks, diapers, wipes, and you can do this anytime and just when you're done collect items and bring them to Foster Community, and that would be so appreciated. And you can also help fulfill our mission at Foster Community by becoming a monthly partner, whether that's a one-time donation or getting set up for monthly. Donations create a financial foundation to support the foster care community, and there should be a website where you can donate your money. And thank y'all.
We are more than youth impacted by foster care. We are artists, poets, writers, public speakers, clothing designers, musicians, massage therapists, school mascots, parents, cosmetologists, high school students, college students, AV Honor Roll students, leaders, and advocates. You are the future. My name is Durian. I'm a writer, and I'm also a guitarist.
Hey everyone, I'm Nate. I'm a youth advisory board member at the FC on Foster Community.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm currently in extended foster care. I'm 20 years old and I am a member on the youth advisory board at Foster Community.
My name is Eloise Spears. Eloise Margaret Spears is Eloise. And I'm 21 years old. This last August will be there. And just now is I'm in extended foster care, like the middle of the year, yesterday.
My name is Natalia Smith. I am 23 years old. I am a member on the Youth Advisory Board. I'm Lainey Atwood. I am the Foster Care Closet Resource Manager and also a member of the Youth Advisory Board, and I'm 17.
In case y'all forgot, I'm Maitlin. I'm 20 and I'm a youth advisory board member at Foster Community, and I was in extended foster care up until my recent adoption.
We just want to thank y'all again for coming out and listening to the stories. Our youth have worked very hard on preparing their answers, and we've done so in such a respectful way to themselves, but also our community and our DCFS workers. And so we just want to maintain a positive environment today, but just, keep an open mind when they are sharing their experiences because it's coming from their heart. So the first question is, looking back and knowing what you know now, what words of encouragement would you give to your younger self?
Words of encouragement that I would have lived into my younger self will be to be bold and stand up for those who need a voice until they found theirs.
Words to encouraging words I would give to my younger self would be, you may not find your forever family on this journey, and it will be long, and it will become more and more difficult as you grow up. But you will create a village of people that care about you, and out of these people, you will gain family, friends, and lifetime connections with people who are willing to help you.
Words of encouragement that I would give to myself is that foster care is not the end of the road, and it does not define my future, but only a period in my life.
Question number 2. What was the most significant thing you learned about yourself from your experience in foster care?
The most significant experience, no, the most significant thing I learned about myself in foster care was that hurt people, and heal people, and heal people. Now, the heal people, I got that from my family. When I was in foster care, going to court was a very traumatizing experience for me because the ending, outcome will always be, what's the recommendation of judge will say. And the social worker or whoever was speaking for me was saying remain in custody. That means you go back to whatever group home you were in or whatever foster home. I had never been into a foster home up until the age of 17, but there was a situation where a family member had sent a message to court that hurt my feelings very badly, and even the judge was emotionally disturbed, and that person was hurt at contempt. Going back to the group home, my behaviors were triggered. I had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, manic anxiety, and manic depression, and just all this. But I would go to those group homes and like hide my clothing up under other people's bed, and with the intent to like accuse them of stealing my things to fight because I was so hurt. Now, in the long run, I became a better person. Up in age where I was, and all of us are hurt here, all of us are here because we don't have a family or our family was abusive or whatever the case may be for that person. And I still talk to some of those females who I've taught in the past. We're like sisters. So, another thing is us we split up all the time. So that part of me too, we develop a relationship with someone and look away. I guess you would call it like attachment issues.
One significant thing I learned about myself in the foster care system is you can either let your circumstances make you or break you. And I think all of us up here is on that path to letting it make us. So
Question number 3. What are some things that were important to you on your foster care journey? What made the biggest difference?
it's simple, but I think some things that were important to me is just having a listening ear that genuinely cared. And my caseworker, she was a very great caseworker, and she always listened and made sure she met every need that I needed. And I think that, like, I still talk about her today, and I still talk to her, but I think that really does play a part in just making you have somebody to listen.
That was a big issue for me too. Like, whenever you are moved from one home to another, say that was in another parish, or like move another state, you move with another social worker, and like that can be very big, especially for me because I talk a lot and I share or overshare sometimes. So whenever you have to like reintroduce yourself to another person, that can be very exhausting, especially since like people will read a packet about you. You have a caseload packet and they already have ideas about what type of person you are, just because you have a couple of mistakes with caseload and stuff. And like meeting somebody new and then going to the new group home on top of that with new staff and like new group of sisters, as you want to call them at the time, is very so good. What mattered to me the most when needed taken care of was my mental health and having support. I wish people would have checked and on my mental health and how I was feeling more than it did.
Okay, question number 4. What are some challenges you face going into a new foster placement? What are some things that could have made that transition smoother?
Some challenges that I always face with my placements was trusting others around me, and some things that could have made some of my transitions more smoother were my caregivers going with my place.
Some challenges I face going into new placements would be readapting to new people, new rules, and a whole new environment. Once you're in a placement for so long, you start to build new bonds and friendships with the other children in the staff household. Being used to the placement and trusting everyone there can be hard on an individual altogether, having to leave and having to start from scratch all over again. And now you have no bonds nor friendships just because you're getting a new placement. Now you're wondering what it's going to be, how it's going to go, all kinds of stuff, and all can be a little overwhelming.
Some challenges that I faced into a foster placement was I did not feel like I had an adult that I could talk to and trust. Not having a safe adult changed my mindset on how I looked at people and looked at the world. It made me depressed. It made me believe that I could not trust anyone. So I did not share my feelings or my story with anyone. I feel like everyone who heard my story would also use it against me. I felt like people were out to get me. I had my guard up. My sister Mike went opened my eyes and helped me understand things. She taught me not to judge people and learn to trust people and give people a chance. I learned to let people in and trust people. Some challenges I faced going into a new environment was it can be hard because imagine a child with previous trauma being woke up only to be told to pack your bags in between 6 and 7 a.m. Your bags being removed like what is this about here? Sometimes like whenever you're being removed from a group home, they may let you know, like say you got into a fight or something, they're gonna let you know. But if they just want to remove you for whatever reason, you know, they'll wake you up at like 6 or 7 in the morning instead of you telling them like pack your bags. You don't get to say goodbye to nobody but your roommate if all the other girls aren't awake for breakfast. You know, and saying you go to public school from that group home or foster home, you could be removed while you're at school and someone else packs your bags. Now I know I was very, attached to my belongings because I went in not having anything. Like my mom literally gave me the stuff out her car, and it was hers. And it wasn't even much, but like people could steal your things, and it's just like difficult moving because I say sisters because I look at them like sisters. Some of them have babies now, so I have nieces and nephews, and it's like I would literally beg them, can I go to this home to be with this sister that I had? Can I go to this home? Can I stay here? When I would run away, I wasn't running away to come back to Algeria. I was running away to go to the people that I was going to run to because that was my first time. You ever heard blood is thicker than water? Make sure the water is boiling.
Some challenges I faced going into a new foster placement was not knowing anything about the system, and so my initial reaction was probably overreacting because I thought I was going to like an orphanage that you see on TV, and so I think it wasn't like that, and so I think that was it. And when I got to my foster placement, we didn't really have good open communication, so a lot of the rules and regulations and routines didn't come until it was in that moment that I messed up or was surprised. I was being rushed into a bond before getting a chance to build trust, and dealing with false accusations and pre-assumptions.
Our next question is about extended foster care. And so extended foster care is a voluntary program for youth 18 to 21 years old with the goal of helping them transition into adulthood. They are provided with case management services and must maintain a job or go to school while in the program. We are so thankful for our extended foster care workers and what they provide to our kids. This population is a population that needs the most support, and they are the most diverse youth that we work with. The question about extended foster care is, if you could change extended foster care, what would you do to make it more helpful?
I think extended foster care gives you the pieces you need to transition into adult, but you have no one there to show you how to use the pieces. And I have a caseworker, but because she has so many other case people, she can't see me every day to help and guide me how to use those pieces each day. And so I think something that would help the extended foster care program is, of course, housing, transitional housing, because I had to go to college in order to, because I knew I was going to stay on campus to have a home after I turned 18. And so if we could, even if like we can have community members to say, hey, she can stay here until we get her going, or whatever the case may be. And so I think that would be important, is just housing, and have a mentor other than the caseworker that's able to be with you every day and guide you to use those pieces. Because the things that I learned in my family household that I wouldn't have learned outside of being in a home or from a computer when you're going through financial literacy classes and stuff, and such as seeing how a husband loves his wife or a wife loves her husband, and just when she gets up to go cook, like, you know, I now know dinner time is around 5:36, up in there 5 to 6, and so, I mean, those are things you just can't teach someone unless they're there to see that. And we watch TV all the time, and so anytime I come across like an unfamiliar word, I have them there to say, what does that mean? Or what is our economy looks like right now? What does that, just like things you can't just get all that done in one setting. And so I think that is important.
Okay, so in my case, extended foster care didn't exist when I aged out. Shortly after my 18th birthday and my high school graduation, I found myself homeless with no support system. And for a short while after that, I found myself making poor decisions just to have somewhere warm and safe to stay. I was able to get into foster care a few months before my 21st birthday, but it wasn't as beneficial for me as it would have been for someone who had just aged out of the foster care system, because I had already been living on my own. I think that it could be helpful from my experience, my worker came once every 2 weeks, which I didn't really find helpful for the purpose of having questions or needing help doing stuff, because I didn't have my own transportation at the time. And she told me that she would help with transportation and anything else that was needed, which I really didn't get any of that done as well, because she did have many other cases. I also think that it would be helpful to have more extended foster care workers for your region, or for each kid's region, because my worker came to Baton Rouge from Opelousas every other week or so, and it just wasn't helpful at all.
I just aged out of extended foster care August 25th, and officially this Saturday by mail. I had the same worker as my chick, and she did have like a really heavy caseload, but she did her job. You hear me? She on top of it. Like, she was mom, she was social worker, and she was like, you better do this, such and such. And like, I would be so excited to call her and tell her I got a new job, you know, such and such and stuff like that. And like, you know, you have to meet those requirements to like reap the benefits of the program. But she would literally have to go to war for us to reap the benefits. Like, at one point, you know, they offered a car after they picked up their driver's license and had to get a license. I am petrified of driving, so I don't need that benefit.
you know, and then they offered furniture and housing vouchers and stuff, but the time frame and like it was a little bit unorganized. Not because of my social worker, but because of like the pushing the paperwork. And like that really is the main headquarters, so it's back to them and from them and back to us, you know. And like waiting, I worked so hard for an apartment, I was walking barefoot at home at like 10 and 11 at night for closing time at that restaurant. And I was so proud to get it because I came with the deposit money, the rent money, and my social worker said, we'll take care of life. And I had a housing package, but it had expired, so she was pushing for another one. And now I'm living in this household, and I'm paying, yes, but I was expecting a little bit of help or whatever, and stuff like that. And it really didn't just go through, and the man was asking me questions, and he didn't do his requirements. So the long run, it wasn't their fault after it all got done, but it took like 6 months to get this done. So I was paying like out of my pocket and didn't have like extra change, you know, to go other places. And it was like pushing and pulling, trying to get paperwork through and answering his questions. I was just frustrated, and she was getting frustrated as well because it's not her fault, but she's the one that has, you know.
What I felt that would have been helpful for getting extended foster care was that I wish I would have known the resources that were available before I did that.
Okay, question number 6. Can you share your experience of being a foster sibling with us, and how has being a foster sibling shaped you?
I only went to like one foster care, and it was like over the summer. And there were 3 kids in the household before I got there, and like I had a big problem like isolating myself, and like I didn't spend a lot of time with my siblings. At that point, I had seen my own siblings for like 6 years, so I was a little, you know, standoffish at first. But these were like younger kids, so you know, younger kids they have a way of working up to you. These were boys, and I have brothers myself, and they would play what's this stuff called Fortnite, Roblox, and you know. I did stuff like that. TikTok wasn't on back then, but I'm pretty sure we had it on TikTok too. But it was, my biggest thing was, why do I have to be their big sister when I can't be my own sister's big sister? Because I'm the oldest and then I'm the only girl on one side. So it was a little, you know, tugging on the heartstrings, but then they had babies living there and we was the kids. Okay, so that was the end of it for me, and I still called to check on them, and you know, we were in Portugal, so we would like travel a lot all over Louisiana with the foster mom, and we got to see and do a lot of things and stuff. They ended up going back to their mom, and one thing about it is like we would take them to see their mom every week on a Monday, and to see, you know, a parent actually working, it's so typical for a child that is amazing because it actually went home because she did what she was, you know, supposed to do, and they're okay.
I think out of everything in my life, foster care has probably shaped me the most. Like I was saying earlier, I was 9 when my parents started the certification process, and I was just really excited. But it was definitely an adjustment, and it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I was now not just like responsible for myself, but like I was responsible or semi-responsible for these younger kids who were coming into my home. And I think I had to grow up really quickly, just because I wanted to help my parents and I wanted to like be there for them, you know. And so we all, like each of my siblings, like we all had to step up and be more responsible for ourselves to help, I guess, like make everything else like run easier. Like we were more like self-sufficient, and it forced us to be like unselfish and not just to think about ourselves. And I learned that like our lives are not like we're not here to serve ourselves, but we're here to serve others and love others, even if that means like that's hard.
What life skills do you wish were taught while in foster care by your support system? What resources do you wish would have been available to you?
Some life skills I wish I were taught while I was in the foster care system is simple life skills such as coping. I would hide away and run from reality. I wish I learned communication skills and learned conflict resolution because when I entered my forever family's home, I had like 4 speeding tickets, bench warrants, and like student credit card debt. But it's all because like I could never face like the disappointment in a way. And so, but with a call, all it took was a call to resolve it. And so I wish I would have learned that a little sooner. And it's some that needs driving skills. It's like basic life skills, and I know that can be a lot for a parent or a home to teach a teen or a child in foster care, but that's where you can reach out to your community's resources, and foster community will help you and just like reach out to your community resources because it takes a village to bring up a child in the foster care system, and you're not alone.
Can you read the question again?
What life skills do you wish were taught while in foster care by your support system? What resources do you wish would have been available to you?
How to make a money order. How to make a money order. How to cash it when you don't need it no more. Yeah, but literally like how to make a money order, like not I know how to go make it, but how do you address it to somebody, how you send it and say it's like the memo part on the check. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to write a check either. They should have taught me how to do that.
What were your expectations of exiting the foster care system versus your reality of actually exiting the foster care system?
My skill that I wish I would have been taught. What my expectations of exiting the foster system versus reality of exiting the foster system was that because I was controlled and isolated from freedom as a youth, my expectation was to turn 18 and do what I wanted to do. But in reality, 2 years later, I'm realizing all I needed then was a positive support system and a family who genuinely cares and supports me as I transition to adulthood. Going into foster care, I had like some expectations that I had already had experience with OJJ aside from PCFS. Now OJJ is like when you get like charges, like you did a crime or something like that. And for a long time in Louisiana, running away was a crime, but then they said, okay, running away is not crime, it's like a group home instead of like an actual place. But with the criminal charges and stuff, I would always ask to go to the detention center, and it was like usually just a bunch of boys. I'd always be the only girl, but because I had started like a bad track record at like 11, at this point I was like 13, and I knew the staff very well. I looked at them like parental figures, and like that is where I wanted to be instead of going home. You know, like I would get excited whenever I see those lights from, let's go. You know, they knew me, Prime Bill, Elevator knew me by name. It was ridiculous. They're like, come on, Alice, no handcuffs me, let's just go. You know, and like, the judge knew where I wanted to go, it wasn't questioning, let's just send me there. And I was always happy to be there because I was clothed, fed, I got bathed, and you know, my hair was done, you know. But going into a group home, I did not know what I expected. And like one of my first placements was going to New Orleans, and that is like it's very different, you know, because in the detention centers, I would watch the boys from that area fight the boys from this area because of just the ignorance, you know. So I didn't know if the girls were like that too, you know. But going, I didn't know what I was gonna like have going on and stuff because I didn't have anything. I didn't really be talked about. I was already bullied in school, so being bullied in a group home with girls I had to live with, you know, I didn't have like hygiene, you know, down packed at the time. You know, they had to teach me how to use menstrual pads and stuff. So all of that combined with being around a bunch of girls and girls kiki, could be mean sometimes. So leaving, whenever I had actually went home, the reason I was about to go to another home was of my own doing. It was just a mistake. So they was gonna put me in like a max security place where they say, okay, you have 7 pair of drawers, 7 t-shirts, and 7 pants. There's no way. And at the time I was smoking cigarettes, there's no way. Send me somewhere else. So I called my dad, and you know, he was the reason I went into care. But he said I could come back. He lied and said I had my own room and own bed. So when I had left from the place to go home, it was just like chaos because I went back to my music and stuff, and it's like after I came up. Oh. Yeah, like when I went back home, like my cousins like stole my things, and I told them I was very particular about my belongings. So it was difficult for me to be in that household because they did like victim shaming, and I was isolated again, and you know, fight, fighting. All right, I'm sorry.
You hear me? Cool. Okay. So, my expectations of exiting the foster care system. Okay, so I had been in foster care since I was about 5. So it's all I knew. I knew going home from home, with people, all these new faces, didn't like it. So I thought that when I aged out, I would be going to college. I would, live my life happy, free, nobody telling me what to do. Okay. No. All right. So my reality of exiting. It likes me.
She said she doesn't want to do it anymore.
Hello? So my reality of exiting foster care was completely different from when it was completely different. I did go to college. It didn't really work out. It was fun though. I didn't really expect to get a family. I did get a family. I didn't expect to be parented, but I am. I don't like it all the time. I don't like it all the time, but I need it. Everybody needs some structure somewhere. Um, so really, I never expected to have as many people in my corner as I do now, and to have a lot of people who actually care about me and is willing to help me even when I don't want it. It's great.
Thank you, Talia, for sharing. Mike likes me. I can tell you, I was not expecting to find a family or for my family to find me, and my reality is my family found me. So,
What is one stigma or misconception people have about foster care and foster youth?
one stigma. Hold on, I got something for this one. One misconception is I feel that people can hear the term foster care and then judge it without knowing that and go based off their preconceived thoughts. And I think that foster care is a broad area, and so you really can't judge it until you actually try it. And so I think that, and then another misconception is a lot of people are worried about like foster teenagers entering their homes when they have like younger kids. But like 9 times out of 10, and I'm just speaking for what I think I know, but like most of youth is like excellent with kids because in my experience, I had to parent my younger siblings, and so as Elenise was saying, how she bonded with the children there, whether they were in foster care or biological siblings. I think youth is like one of the most people who just get attached to younger kids. And so I really don't want y'all to think that that's the case. And I mean, of course, you got to play it by ear, and each teen is different. But from my experience and those I've heard, that's a misconception that can go.
Misconception people have about foster care youth is that they don't take the time to get to understand the teenagers. Just being in foster care alone can take a huge toll on our lives. It takes time to process it all, and we may have a change in behavior, but everyone has a reason behind any action they commit. Now that's how you approach like,
Get your head on the
with a attachment to them, and an attachment to them, because you might be a little distant at first, but I was distant to everybody over here. And like at one point in our relationship, in the beginning of the relationship, I was saying to everybody over here, I was distant and short. But I had to check myself and like really tell myself, like everything up here is my friend. So yeah, I was saying like everybody up here is my friend. That's it. I love you.
Hey, 2 for 1, 2 for 1.
Why?
Why do you think it's important to be an advocate for current youth in the foster care system? Speak loud. Okay. Why do you think it's important to be an advocate for current youth in the foster care system? You don't have to speak loud.
I find it's important to be an advocate for parent youth in foster care because not every person has been in foster care. It's not every person can speak on things. We need to speak up for them and eventually make them more comfortable. My sister Michael always advocated for this. When Michael spoke up for me, it allowed me to make those things and allowed me to speak up for myself and share how I felt. And I learned to advocate for myself. Michael was a voice for me everywhere to share how I felt and I learned to advocate. It can be difficult to talk about things and it takes away off of it and make it easier. It can be difficult to talk about things that you are afraid of. So I know like my friends told me a lot. So we accepted to be taught and it's good like to learn for certain things. Somebody can tell me to stop cooking. She's like, yeah, this is a chance and you tell people. My clothes my outfit to the way some thinking that this is something to stop doing.
Can you hear me? Oh, I unplugged it and plugged it back in because that usually fixes almost everything. So does this one work? It does.
Okay, I think it's important to advocate for current youth in foster care because, like, I don't feel like people give them a chance and, like, they don't take the time to understand them and they go off of, like, preconceived notions and, like, the horror stories that they hear. There's so much more than they're given credit for. And given the right resources and environment, like, they can be so successful and they have proven that to be true. And I want people to see that because my family, we took in Michaelin, and we've also taken in 3 younger kids. And the younger kids were much harder than Michaelin, and so they think that like, oh, the younger kids will be easier. It's not. It's not always true. And I know that's not always the case, and like every case is different. But I've seen how much good and like how much my family has been blessed because Michaelin lives with us now. Michaelin's a part of our family, and these people up here are now my closest friends, and so it is so worth it. I think it. I think it. I think.
I think it's important to advocate for the youth that's currently in foster care because my little involvement at fostering community has made me realize how important pure and experienced voices are. No matter how long I ran from, no matter how much of my life I ran from the term foster care, I now feel it's my duty to embrace that title. And for the youth that's currently in care, I mean, it led me to where I am now, and it made me who I am, and not to be self-centered, but like I'm proud of my strength and my strength and my resilience, and so it makes me proud to use my voice to advocate for those who are currently in the system.
Hello? Okay. So I think it is important to advocate for youth that are currently in foster care because I feel like I wouldn't want them to experience or have to go through the same things that I went through. As far as not being able to speak up to someone about things that are going on in foster homes or about people who are neglecting you. It's not easy to just go to a social worker and be like, hey, this isn't working out. So I feel like being able to speak with youth and to get their opinions and actually being able to speak to someone higher than just the social workers makes a difference. And also with just to keep our youth safe matters a lot. So being able to speak up for the youth in foster care is just, well, being able to speak up and advocate for them and their safety and how they feel is very important to me, us, all of us.
I think it's important to advocate for youth that are currently in foster care because I was in foster care myself. So in my head, who knows better than the one who was there? And like I have, I've been in those situations where they say, okay, who's gonna believe me or you? Now I'm you. I'm the adult, so I'm gonna believe. And if a child tells me something happened, I'm a step because nobody stepped for me. I would very much like to be that front line for those youth. So that's why I'm here today.
I think it's important to be an advocate for the youth in the foster care system because even though they're still in the foster care system, they're still our youth. Investing in our youth is an investment in our future. Many kids like myself, all we need is someone to kickstart our flame, to lead us, to guide us, to support us, and to invest in us. If you want to make a difference and don't know how, being an advocate for the youth in the foster care system is a good place to start.
What is one thing or service that has made an impact on your life that you believe all youth in care need or should have?
I'll start. I think one service that I didn't get to experience is fostering community, and I'm not saying that because I'm there, but I never if I would have had to know that there's other teams in my area that's in foster care, I don't think I would have been as ashamed or I would have found my voice a long time ago. And so I really do think fostering community has helped. I really do think every youth should experience fostering community just because it's one of the only programs that I know of that is strictly for children in foster care. So all of our events or all of our meetings and fun stuff, life skills. Is the majority of kids in foster care, and if they're not in foster care, they're in similar situations. And so to be surrounded around those who are in similar situations as you or was in similar situations can be very comforting. And so I really do think foster community is a great service.
Oh, I like this. I like this one. Some things that, some of my experiences, like, they carry on with me today. Like, I was living with some nuns at a convent, and, like, they would sew their robes and stuff. And, like, we would make aprons and pillows. And then they bought us paint, so I picked up painting, and then, had piano lessons, so picked up music. And I always did like music, because I took band in school, and I liked the marching band thing. I was clarinet, them type of things. But just like overall, like getting out the house and getting involved, and like one of the biggest things that helped me was like therapy sessions, like different types of therapy, because there's multiple therapy sessions. They have pet therapy, trauma therapy, and they even have like group therapy sessions where you can get them involved where they're socially verbal. But sometimes I don't have the social skills to be verbal. Sometimes I'm very withdrawn. So getting out and doing those types of exercises, I feel like would help me a lot more, and like even if they don't want to do it, it's always a compromise somewhere where you can meet with a child. I wish somebody would sit down and compromise with me a lot more.
One thing you can do to support our foster care community is if you're in foster care, I would encourage you to participate in our activities that we have for the youth, because one of the hardest things for me when I was in the foster care system was making friends and finding people like myself who've had similar experiences.
What words of wisdom would you give to prospective parents looking to foster or adopt?
Words of wisdom that I would give to prospective parents looking to foster and adopt is it's worth the difference that you'll make in our life.
Well, never judge a child by the father.
The words of wisdom I would give to parents looking to foster or adopt is that open communication is key, and I feel like that would have helped me open up and be more vulnerable if I had that. The advice I would give to a beginning foster parent would be to like have food boxes, like not like a food box, but like a little snack section or like a little lunch bag prepared in their room, because I've done this myself. Get up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when everyone's asleep and go right to the refrigerator, or the pantry that they got good in there, because I was ashamed to like either eat in front of people. I even do this now, like when I'm starting a new job, I will wear a face mask for like the first 2 weeks, because my facial expression, like my concentration face, but just like make sure you do everything possible to provide like that child have like space, and at the same time be safe and aware that they're not alone. Anything that you would want to do alone in your room, make sure that they have like coloring books, puzzles, just things to keep themselves entertained, but at the same time safe. Like, and if you know you're having a child with mental disabilities or like mental health problems, like suicide and stuff like that, keep the belts and straps, anything that's like that you can lynch something with to get out the room. Sharp objects like razors and stuff like that, don't give it to them unless you know they're not a cutter. Like, observe, because cutters usually go for the thigh or the arm. I'm not one myself, but I have.
So, my words of advice would be to just do it. Okay. To just do it. Foster more teens, mentor more young adults. Everybody needs somebody. I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't know if my heart can take it because of the feelings from fostering, or what if this kid goes back to their family, or what if they get moved, or what if you just can't do it? Just try it. Just try it. The love that you can give to the love that you can give to a kid, a youth, is more than you'll probably ever know or understand. Growing up, you don't get to experience a lot of things that kids normally get to growing up. Right? Okay. So kids in foster care don't get to do the things that kids, I don't know how to say that, kids that are born to their family or have families get to do, like extracurricular activities and going out with friends. They don't get to do that. So when you get a chance to love on youth in and out of foster care, just keep that in mind. Like, everybody needs somebody, and it takes a village. It really does, but it's worth it. I know a lot of parents worry about like how it's going to affect their biological children, but I can tell from like personal experience and like my siblings and I, like it was the best decision that my parents ever made for our family. It was to do foster care. I wouldn't be sitting here today next to my sister and all these people who are like family to me if it wasn't for foster care. And it has taught me many things that shaped every aspect of my life for the better, and it is really so better.
So I have a couple, so get your pens out. But first off, I just want to say that's amazing. Going through this process can bring so much love into your life and home, and so much growth as a person and your capability to love another person. So good job. And I think words is a big affection. Like, they say like you gotta show yourself, but I think words is just as important because, like, so example, instead of saying like, I'm so sorry you have to move somewhere else, or I'm sorry your mom didn't show up for the visit, you can say things like, you're brave for showing up and starting that new school, or this may hurt right now, but you're so strong for getting through this. I know tough situations seem like they keep popping up, but you are building so much strength for your future. Don't worry, you can cry, you can be hurt, you can be sad, but your circumstances in your past does not define your future. It doesn't also remove stigma, but it contributes to building the inner confidence of a youth in the system. And so I think words is important. And like Abigail said, we don't want to hear, I'm so sorry. No, just ask those other questions. And how'd you get through it? Just things like that. I got to speak on teens behalf. Don't be afraid to foster or adopt from teens for foster care. That gift of having a consistent placement and family is giving me the foundation I need to be a successful adult. And sometimes the teens are just looking for a long life connection. And with that being said, extended foster care, you don't have to be certified. They're grown, they're legally grown. They can come in when they can go to anyone's home they want. I think it's just building that relationship and just being a mentor, even if they're not staying in your home. So it's sometimes that like my friends, like I don't have no one to cook me dinner every night. So like invite them over for dinner a night, or they don't have no one to talk to. So being that primary just mentor, you don't have, it's nothing, it's between you and that extended foster care individual. And so I think that's a good one. And I want y'all to know that foster parents are important, and you're not alone in this. And so reach out to your community resources such as fostering community, because it's really hard to navigate the system, but there's a whole village supporting you.
When you think about your time in the foster care system, who are the people who helped you?
And the foster care system, before I turned 18, I think my social worker, my caseworker, was the best person who has helped me, because like I stated before, she listened to me and made sure that my needs was met, and she was on my stage of life. And it was times where we had snowstorms and I was away in college, and I would call her, not knowing if she could even do this, but like, can you order me pizza? Because, and she would, like, no questions asked. And so it was a lot of times I did things like that, and she came through each time. And I call her now, tell her my news, good news, and we still speak and have lunch. But just the minimum of having a relationship and having a listening ear and someone who genuinely cares, I really do think goes so far, and it gives us the confidence to, I am somebody, or I am lovable, and it really does play a good part.
When you think about your time in the foster care system, who are the people who helped you?
Okay, so during my time in foster care, I would say I had a few social workers that helped me a lot, that I was able to speak with comfortably and know that they would help me in any way that I needed. My attorney also fought for me hard. Growing up, I did have her my entire time in foster care, which was great because she knew me and I could speak to her comfortably and confidentially about things. And lastly, my CASA. My CASA was a big part in my life because she didn't come to visit me with a notebook and a pen, and she didn't write down everything that we talked about, but I was able to express concern or what was going on in wherever I was. And even if I forgot what was going on, whenever we met again in court, if there was something that my judge asked about that I didn't know an answer to at that moment, my cousin would speak up and just tell my judge things that I had said previously that I didn't even remember. So those are the people for me.
For me, mine was my social worker and my CASA. Me and Michael had the same social worker. I'm pretty sure y'all know I made she was talking about her, but my CASA, she is amazing. Anything a man can do, she can do it too, probably even better. Give her a shovel and some seeds and some potting soil, topsoil, and all that good stuff, she's gonna go to work, okay? But I met her when I was 13 years old, and I was in New Orleans at the time. Now, I didn't even know where the council was. She just popped up and was like, hey, somebody's here to visit you. I'm like, is it your mama? No, it wasn't mom. It was this lady, with pretty silver hair. So she came in, she had like all these little gifts and stuff like that, and I still have the first picture that we ever took. We were talking one-on-one, I'll pull out and show you. But she was just like the sweetest person, and like she brought coloring books and things she thought I might like, even little snacks and stuff. And like when she left, I shared it with everybody. But we exchanged numbers and like just everything about her drew me in. And she had been through some things as well. Like she was a survivor of breast cancer and everything. So she was like really everything about a woman that could be empowered. It was her. You know, she embodied it. And like she had abuses herself, and like that was relatable for me. You know, and like I'm 21 now. She's still here, and she'll tell you you have to bury me before I leave you alone. You know, and like I was stressed out because we had conversations in 3 weeks, and the guy was thinking like your family is my family. You know, and I lean on her for everything. And like she gives me the job opportunities when I'm unemployed. Like I like to paint, and she has a self-sufficient business where she sells farmers market. You know, so I make designs for signs for her and her workers and other people in the community because she said call her real small. So she gives me opportunity anytime she gets a chance.
The 4 people who helped me the most while I was in the foster care system was my parents who adopted me, loved me, and cared for me, Ashley Smith and Jared Chambers, and my friends who are more like family.
If you had a magic wand to create a supportive foster home, what would that look like?
My perfect foster home would be full of love, support, and
I lived in my ideal home before. It was like amazing. It was on like state police property, so the protection, part was covered. We was just in the sticks, y'all. Like every time we would leave and go on like a little pass, they have deer and stuff, and like you could see them at night whenever we were coming back. You see like the little eyes glowing. It was so cool. And even one time they had like Captain Honeycomb came to chop the head off a rattlesnake, and I took pictures with it. Amazing. But that group home, it was like a estate setting, and I'm a country girl at heart. I grew up in the country, and I believe this was trail rides and horses and groups and rock tickets. So like getting back to that, like everything I knew, we had like gardening opportunities. I had my own herb garden. It was so much fun. Peppermint water, peppermint tea, stuff like that was really cool. And every time someone came, we'd give them a tour because we had like a little pond over here, we had blueberry bushes growing over here, and we had chicken coop. I wasn't going back there. And inside we had like a therapy room, and it was set up where like, you ever heard that whenever traumas are triggered by like smells, touch, sounds, and like just different things that you subconsciously remember about trauma. But that room was set up to be like based off of touch, like we got the physics up here, and then we had our own rooms with our own bathrooms as far as like privacy go, and they had like a clothing donation closet, kind of like varsity community does. Like if a girl came, they didn't have any clothes, you can go in there and select your clothes. We had like cooking courses where the cook would show us how to cook different meals, and it was run by nuns, and like they come from different parts of the country. We had a Filipino, we had a Nigerian, the Indians, and we even had a lady from Madagascar. That was just moving. But they would teach us, their influence on cooking and stuff like that. And we had volunteers who would, do things with us as far as going to our nails done, or shopping and budgeting skills, and like different type of things like that. It just gave us the opportunity to really be ourselves. There's a lot of girls, so everyone isn't interested in the same TV show. So let's split up and go garden, or go play with the chickens. If I can go play with some chickens, so not elephants.
If I had a magic wand to create a supportive foster home, it would look just like the family that adopted me, but I'm gonna give y'all some insight. A perfect foster home would just be foster parents willing to understand and learn about my history and trauma, and while learning that, they will learn how to effectively interact and communicate with my siblings and I while considering the trauma we face. A family who would reassure me they wouldn't give up on me or kick me out, that they will walk alongside me as I transition into adulthood. Foster parents to treat me as their own and push me to be the best person I can be. And I think a great something you can provide in a foster home for youth coming in and out is just maybe like a little welcome box or a welcome binder, because usually as teens we kind of shy away or we want to be left alone. But I think if there was like a welcome binder sitting on a dresser in the room that I was staying in that kind of told me a little bit about the foster home and maybe and like their rules and regulations and routines, and then maybe put a piece of paper behind that one to ask me those questions, like what's something you want me to know about you? What are your goals? What would you like to accomplish? Whether you're here for 2 days or 2 years. Just because a lot of times it's easier to write than to talk about it. And like I said, when I first about a year ago or year and a half when I went to Kingsville, Amber was the first person who asked just all my life, like, what is your story? And so like at that moment I didn't really like, I didn't think I had a story. And so I mean those are important. We're so busy struggling with the circumstances we're in that we don't even realize like what is my goal or what is something I want to accomplish. And so I really think that's important. And so a little welcome box, a little snack, so people like Alanis is not up at 3 o'clock in the morning eating like a rat. And so, and just like how if you, and maybe like a note or something, so I know that you were expecting me to come, and I not feel like I was just dumped in this home, and just I think those little things would help. And so, and I think, and throughout my homes, like, so when I first got asked to move in with the Atwoods, you would think it was an easy yes, but it really was some time to contemplate it. It was really took some time to contemplate, and it was really just because at 19, I had to put into thoughts, like, will this just be another transition? Will this be another home that fails? And so, not to like, and 3 weeks ago, it's like, why was this process so natural, and why? Because every home I've been in, it felt like something was missing. And it had nothing to do with rules, because I know houses have rules, I know family has rules, and each house has different. So it wasn't typically just about rules. And so, but one thing I did notice about the family I'm with now is that I came in and they did not judge me. And so one of my challenges throughout these homes is always trying to prove to the foster parent or just a family, whoever I'm staying with, that I'm not who they say I am, or I'm not who they think I am. And so my home now, like, I've never experienced judgment, but support. And they allow me to decide who I am for myself, and they supported me through that. And so that's all important.
At what moment did you know that you wanted to create a change for the foster care system?
When it wasn't until, Amber asked me what's my story, and then I started kind of sharing it. But then foster community helped me voice my story and to share the story. And so since then, like, I've been doing my public speaking. I've gained this passion and desire to advocate for teens in the foster care system, just because most of us all experience similar things. And I mean, it takes us to help change it, and it takes the community to help change it, because it's not all on the state. I mean, they're just doing the paperwork part of it, but most of our experiences come from the foster home. And so it really does take community and just support systems. And so I think once I started public speaking, it kind of gave me this passion to advocate.
So I was around 14 years old, and I had this friend who some of you know, who was in foster care at the time. She moved placements a few times, but she was separated from her siblings for most of the time. And just watching her deal with it and see how it affected her. And then during the same time, it's kind of random, but my mom was watching the Gabriel Fernandez documentary on Netflix. And one night she was telling me about the documentary. For those of you who haven't heard of it, it's about this 8-year-old boy who was abused and tortured over a span of months and ended up dying at the hand of his mother and her boyfriend. And the state knew what was going on, but never removed him from his mother or the boyfriend. And me and the little boy would have been the same age if he would have survived. And so between the friend that I had at the time, who I still keep in touch with, and she's doing great, has been adopted, and the Netflix documentary, I felt like it just kept coming back in my mind. It was something that was like reoccurring, you know. And so that's when I felt the Lord call me to be a social worker and to work in the foster care system. But like, I didn't know that I would be able to do this at 17, long before being able to be an actual social worker.
I've been knew that I wanted to do something like this, because like every group home I went to, like believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, our conversations amongst us would end up being, okay, whenever we get older, we're not gonna do our kids like this, we're gonna show them a better way. Or whenever we get older, we're gonna adopt a bunch of kids, and, you know, or I'm gonna have a foster home, or I'm gonna make my own group home. It's always been, you know, well, people that I've encountered, it's always been our dreams, like stick our hand like back into the past, you know, so that we never forget where we came from, you know, the good side and the bad side. Because I still deal with my family members and everything, and like I love my family, but I still love my, you know, chosen family as well.
I haven't talked much today because I've had a pretty good experience with the foster care system. I just think we need more volunteers.
Okay, y'all, this is the very last question of the panel. Can you describe a favorite memory you made during your time in foster care?
I say when I was in the group home in New Orleans, all the places they took me. Went to my first NBA game, French quarters, all types of stuff. It was a good environment.
The pellet games lit her name. But some of my favorite experiences and like accomplishments was like whenever I stayed with the nuns, that was a home that was for sex trafficking victims. So I met a lot of girls from like all over the world and stuff like that, and like bonding with them. We picked up a bunch of like different hobbies with each other. And like how I told y'all, some of us would like write poetry, some of us liked it to dance, and some of us liked it like music and art and stuff. Now I like it to paint, and I started off like abstract because I didn't really like pencil drawing and doing everything else. But we also took piano lessons from the governor's wife, and they host like galas, and so we would send our paintings off to actually make money like for our group home. And it was like really cool because even then they would go into like seminars like this, and like we would send our poems off to be read at the seminars, you know, because they would be like personal, near and dear, and like they would be quoted in the newspaper. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like we need to publish it.
Okay, I can't describe my favorite memory in foster care, but after foster care, my family took me to the beach. It was my very first vacation out of the state, and I had the best time. And that's it.
I think one of my favorite memories, and one of my favorite memories I made in the foster care system was just seeing my foster mom in the stands as I was playing softball, not ever having like someone genuinely there to support me. And I mean, I had coaches and school administrators that supported me and was rooting for me and wanted to root for me. But as far as like someone other than someone I stay with or a family member showing up, like she showed up. And so I think that was one of my favorite memories.
I just want to thank everybody who submitted questions ahead of time. We do have a few more minutes before our event is over. If anybody in the audience has a question that they would like to ask our youth panel today. Okay, well, thank y'all so much for coming today. We really appreciate the support that you have shown us today with our youth programs and our youth board. They have mentioned before that they were going to stick around, so if y'all have any one-on-one questions or if there was something that one of them shared that really impacted you, I know that they would really like to hear, your perspective and how it changes you, because it took a lot of vulnerability and courage for them to come up here today and share their stories with you and share their stories with people they may have never seen before. And so just keep that in mind, as you go home today, that their stories are important and these are stories of people in our communities.
And I just want to say I'm an open book, so any question, any thought, you can come to me. I got all the answers on my part.
I just want to say thank y'all for coming to listen to us. That's all.
I didn't answer the last question, but I thought somebody like this. My foster brother, Judge Jr., his little brother, when we had a church campus, I was with him a lot, and I was one of his partners at Buddy Camp. And during the last few days, he made me like this little, like a little plastic thing that he painted, but he gave it to me, and he said, I was his favorite. So that was his favorite.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I know that it takes a lot of courage to get up here and to be open and vulnerable with all of us, and we really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys for coming up and for submitting your stories ahead of time. I wanted to mention that Michaelin actually won a spot in a Survivors Thriving and Writing Retreating workshop. So out of the 87 people that applied, who were former foster youth or survivors, applied to be a part of this workshop, only 12 people were accepted, and Michaelin has a spot that she gets to go to next month. We wanted to present you with a scholarship so that you wouldn't have to worry about how you were going to cover tuition for your workshop. And we're able to do this because there are people just like you in the community who constantly support all of the work that we do at Fostering Community. I was supposed to put cards on all the tables and I didn't, but they are on the back, and it's ways that you guys can get involved, and it describes our programs a little more. And our youth are actually selling t-shirts in the back. They're $20 each, and all of the funds raised go straight to our youth program. Thank you so much. We're so proud of you. Thank y'all for all that you do. We really appreciate it. All right, you guys come down, and all the audience is going to come shake your hands, tell you how awesome you are, how proud of you we are. You didn't even seem nervous. You were. Breathe a little bit. Yeah, you know you're enough. I don't even know who on there. How do you know how many people are on there? That's comments. I'm so sorry. I tripped over you. It's wet.
Get down from there. Get down.
Look at this, Addie. Addie, look at this. No.
Don't get on there. No, hey, don't do that.